In this video, we will be going over NPCs who used to do something or were involved in some sort of quest chain in vanilla WoW, but had that quest chain or function removed from them with the old world revamp in Cataclysm, but were still left in the game for some reason. And at number 10, we have Tajari. This NPC is located in the Moonglade and is right next to the Keeper Remulus. Now, Remulus is an important lore character, so it makes sense for a couple of guards to be in front of him. But there's also this NPC off to the side who seemingly doesn't do anything, and if you talk to her, basically just tells you that she's watching over Remulus. But in vanilla WoW, she was involved in a quest chain for druids in order to get their aquatic form. The aquatic form quest chain for druids is infamous for being terrible, and I even made a video about it on my channel. Basically, as part of the quest chain, you had to swim to the bottom of the lake in the middle of the zone and grab a bauble. Then you would turn it into Remulus, who would then tell you to talk to Tajari for the next part of the quest. Tajari would then tell you to ask around Moonglade for clues on where to go get the next 2 items for the quest. If you're Alliance, you would find out you had to go to Westfall and Darkshore, and if you're Horde, you'd find out you needed to go to the Barrens in the Silverpine Forest. Then, after completing this cross-continental fetch quest for 2 items, you'd come back and turn them into her, and then she would teach you how to do the aquatic form. With the removal of the quest chain, she no longer does anything. And at number 9, we have Falla Sagewind. Falla is an NPC located in the Northern Barrens on top of a mountain randomly, who used to be part of a turn-in quest for the Wailing Caverns. With Cataclysm, all of the dungeon quests were put at the entrance of their respective dungeons, and all your turn-ins were done at the entrance of the dungeons as well. And with this, the one turn-in this NPC used to have was removed. But she still stands there, doing nothing. She's also friendly to Alliance players randomly, probably because she used to be part of a turn-in for a dungeon quest that was cross-faction. Because when you turned in the Nightmare Shard to her, she would tell you to give it to Hamul Rune Totem if you were Horde, and Bearwalker if you were Alliance. Hamul is a major lore character, and this shard was an early hint at the Emerald Nightmare plot point, an event that came full circle during Legion, as it was the first raid of the expansion. Number 8, Vial. This NPC is an imp located in Winterspring who sells an item called the Fell Elemental Rod, which is a component for a quest chain. And the rod is only used in that one quest, which was removed with Cataclysm. But this imp is still in the game, and still sells the elemental rod, even though there is literally no use for it. The quest it was part of, though, was the quest chain required to build the item which allowed you to see ghosts, which you needed in order to complete a series of ghost-related quests throughout the world. Now, out of all of the NPCs on this list, this one actually does kind of have a use. It's a vendor who also sells the limited quantity items Grom's Blood and Fellcloth. Sometimes people will pay this NPC a visit just to see if they can buy one of these 2 items. Number 7, Strahad Farsan. Strahad is an NPC in Ratchet who was part of the vanilla WoW Warlock Fellhunter acquisition quest chain. As part of a long quest chain, you'd come to Strahad Farsan multiple times as you went on the cross-continental journey looking for books, and he would be the one to ultimately train you on how to use your Fellhunter, if you were a Warlock. But ever since the Cataclysm, he was turned into a normal Warlock trainer. But ever since they removed training skills from trainers, he doesn't do anything. Like, if you talk to him on a Warlock, he'll show you that he can train you things, but since you automatically learn the abilities as you level up, it's impossible to actually train anything from him. He's one of those leftover NPCs that Blizzard just kind of forgot to remove the training window from. There's a couple of them in the game, so he's one of those rare breeds. Still doesn't do anything, but at least he has his little unique distinction when it comes to being a useless NPC. Number 6, Tiev Mordune. Tiev was located in the Silverpine Forest. This NPC used to be part of the Water Totem quest chain, the class quest which is nearly universally considered the worst or hardest class quest to do back in vanilla WoW. During one portion of the quest, you're supposed to talk to a water elemental after killing another water elemental, but the water elemental was a limited time spawn, so if you for whatever reason missed the window of opportunity to talk to them, this NPC was literally there just to resummon it for that one part of the quest. Since the quest chain no longer exists, the NPC has nothing associated to it now, and with it being in a very out of the way location, you have to run a very long time along the coast in order to come across him, making him a very secret, obsolete NPC. Number 5. Comar Villard. Comar was an NPC involved in the Succubus Warlock Pet quest chain. As part of the quest chain, you had to go to remote parts of the world to kill 2 good and honest men and steal their hearts from their dead bodies. And Comar was one of the 2 NPCs you had to kill for Horde players. Comar lost the love of his life and was wandering around the wetlands by himself, looking for any signs of her. This particular quest chain was kind of messed up, as it was one of the few quest chains where you literally had to go out and kill good people, who not only had done nothing wrong, but were actively hunted down for being really good people, which made this quest chain kind of notable for being evil. There are very few straight up evil quest chains that players have to do in the game, but with the removal of the Succubus quest chain in Cataclysm, they just kind of forgot to remove this NPC as well. So now he just kind of hangs out in the wetlands. And at number 4, we have Emberstrife. Emberstrife was a black dragon located basically behind Onyxia's lair, who was involved in both factions' Onyxia Tumen quest chain, a quest chain infamous for being incredibly long and convoluted. On the Alliance side, players had to engage Emberstrife and place an item on the floor, beat him down to around 30% health, and then use an item to mind control him, and while mind controlled, they would force him to breathe fire on the item they place on the floor to complete their quest. On the Horde side, they'd have to build a costume to dress up as a black dragon, and then talk to Emberstrife, who would give them a quest to go out and kill 3 dragons throughout the world. And then once you killed the 3 dragons, he'd tell you to kill another dragon before finally giving you the quest item you needed. But with the removal of the Onyxia quest chain, Emberstrife was basically left to do nothing, except to be an elite dragon at the back of the cave. And since Emberstrife is a black dragon, lore-wise, he's probably dead, because Wrathion went around the world killing all the black dragons. Although, Emberstrife was mentioned by Jaina after the events of Wrathion going around the world killing all the black dragons, but before the start of Mista Pandaria, so he might still be alive. Maybe. Wrathion did a really good job of killing all the black dragons, but what is for sure is the fact that Emberstrife is an NPC still in the game that is involved with nothing and was made obsolete by the Cataclysm. Number 3, Azj'Tordin. Man, I probably messed up so many of these names. This NPC is located in Feralis and used to be involved in a quest chain that would send you into Dire Maul to kill an imp named Pussilin in order to get back his book of incantations and a key. The key would allow you to go into certain entrances into Dire Maul, and once you turn in the book, Azj'Tordin would give you a choice between 2 items and 500 rep with the Shendralar. The Shendralar are a faction that was an incredibly difficult faction to grind rep for from Vanilla WoW to Wrath of the Lich King, and the quest with Azj'Tordin was one of the few quests that granted rep to that faction. Otherwise, in order to get rep with this faction, you had to turn in a ton of books and crafting materials, and getting this faction to Exalted was so difficult, it used to be part of the Insane in the Membrane achievement, before they removed the ability to get this rep in the Cataclysm. Insane in the Membrane, for those of you who don't know, is an achievement you get for hitting Exalted with some of the hardest factions to grind rep for in the game. But after the Cataclysm, they removed the Shendralar faction from the game, and moved this guy's quest chain to one of the ogres at the entrance of Dire Maul, like they did with all other dungeon quests. They just kind of put them at the entrance rather than requiring you to speak to NPCs in the zone for the dungeon's quests. And with those 2 changes, Azj'Tordin wasn't used for anything, but his NPC is still in the game today. Number 2, Thun'grim Firegaze. This NPC was involved in a level 10, level 20, and a level 30 warrior quest chain for Horde players. At level 10, he would just give you a weapon appropriate for your class, as back in Vanilla WoW, there used to be quest chains for your class that would give you a piece of equipment which was perfectly suited for your class, and was usually worth doing for the amazing piece of gear you'd get. At level 30, Thun'grim would give you a series of quests that would give you 4 pieces of gear ultimately, requiring 11 quests in total to complete. At the end of each small quest chain, you'd get one piece of armor appropriate for a warrior, but the chest piece in particular was unique as it had an on-use effect to instantly generate 30 rage, which was a decent chunk of rage at the time. So what some max level warriors would do is equip this chest piece, use its effect to get 30 rage, and then swap back to their normal chest piece before pulling a boss. But this chest piece had a 1 hour cooldown, so it was a little hard to abuse, as that was about the max cooldown duration most really good abilities had. But with the Cataclysm, and the removal of basically all class quests, this NPC was rendered essentially useless, and is located on top of the mountain with nothing else nearby, with no other NPCs near, except a few plain striders. And at number 1, we have Gunther Arcanus. Gunther is an undead located in the middle of the lake in the undead starting zone, surrounded by a whole bunch of ghouls. Gunther was an undead who was a powerful mage and necromancer in life, that when he fell to the plague of the Lich King, he just kind of broke free on his own and went off and did his own thing, because he was just that strong of a necromancer. And then, during Vanilla WoW, it's your job to talk to him and try and convince him that other members of the Scourge managed to break free and now have free will under Sylvanas. But Gunther doesn't believe you, and gives you a couple of tasks to complete that a member of the Scourge would never do, like killing an important member of the Scourge. Once you complete the tasks, he exclaims that he didn't believe any other undead had broken free of the Lich King either, and then he tentatively agrees to join the Forsaken, but there was never really any follow-up afterwards. Ever since the Cataclysm, he just kinda hangs out there and there was no quest or anything associated with him. You can't even talk to him anymore. But if they were to ever have a Necromancer class in the future, Gunther Arcanus is definitely someone who could teach Horde members Necromancy. Now, the reason I have this NPC at the number 1 spot is because he's kind of a favorite of mine, and I've mentioned him in like 3 other videos. Alright, and that's the end of the video. This video idea was requested by one of my Patreons named Galgrit, so if you like the idea of this video, you have him to thank for it. If you know of any other NPCs that should have made the list, or have any ideas for future videos just like this one, I'd love to hear about them down in the comments.